Michael Traill. It's my great privilege to be Chief Executive of Social Ventures Australia. As we always and appropriately and traditionally do, we'd like to pay our respects to the traditional owners of the land on which we meet tonight, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay our respects to their elders past and present. We do that with some feeling at SVA, and particularly in the presence of some great Indigenous social entrepreneurs like Jack Manning Bancroft and Chris Sarah, who are with us tonight. I think, as everybody in this room is aware, one of the challenging stats on the landscape of education is what Indigenous kids face. And I think what we learnt last year and what we know through people like Jack and Chris and Adrian Appo, who'll be with us later on, is that those entrepreneurs, those people who are making a difference, have high expectations for what those kids can achieve, and they're making a substantial difference. We're delighted to have the SVA Education Dialogue Mark II, and it's fantastic to reconnect the clan. As SVA sometimes want to do, we're prepared to conduct kind of bold experiments, and frankly, when we put the dialogue together last year, and Maxine McHugh was very heavily involved in that initiative, in that endeavour, we weren't quite sure what to expect. Now, what came out of that was a really interesting and eclectic gathering, which somebody on the day branded an uncommon but potentially incredibly effective alliance. And we think it has been, and we think the precedent that's been set from last year, which has been built on this year, gives us an extraordinary opportunity to do some constructive things. Now, what galvanised everybody last year were a set of stats that were pretty confronting, and they were about not just the moral obligation we have to try and improve the performance and opportunity paths for kids in the bottom 20%. So we think there's a moral case, but the economic case is profound. And one of our partners in this is an old economist from Melbourne University, Ben Jensen. And Ben puts this in economic terms, and I think this is a smart way of capturing this that resonates across the landscape, that if we had the capacity to operate at something like world best practice in terms of equity outcomes, we would increase the GDP of this nation by 0.7%. That is extraordinarily significant. So the economics of this are absolutely compelling. The agenda tonight, we really want to do a few things. This is really a great opportunity to connect, so we've got plenty of time for that to happen. We want to do it in a scene setting, and I'm going to hand over to my colleague Justine Munro, Director of Education, in a minute to give some background about what we're looking to achieve tomorrow and where we've come from since last year. We have in our midst a Walkley Award-winning journalist, Maxine McHugh. Fantastic to have you back with us, Max.
Yeah!
And Max came up with his phraseology last year, which really resonated, the idea of how do we turn bright spots into a bright system. And so we're going to have an opportunity for Max to drill down and showcase some fantastic examples of bright spots. We're also going to benefit from a guy that Maxine introduced us to last year, Tony McKay. Tony's been a fantastic partner and supporter of SVA. He's facilitating the dialogue, and we're delighted that Tony's had the opportunity through his prodigious network to have Valerie Hannon with us tonight, who's a globally regarded expert and practitioner. So we're going to have Tony on the couch interviewing Valerie, and some opportunity for Q&A after that. I did want to particularly acknowledge the support we've had. The thing that really sits under the bonnet, the engine of SVA, are people and organisations that are prepared to fund things that aren't really your traditional charity, you know, and we are hugely grateful for the support we've had. There's a lot of people in this room. I did want to acknowledge people and organisations specifically who've helped make tonight and tomorrow happen. Our long-term founding and funding partners, the AMP. If this is not the best corporate entertainment facility in Sydney, I don't know what is. So thank you so much, Helen and AMP, for the continuing wonderful hospitality. And I also particularly wanted to acknowledge the foundational support of two key funders in the dialogue. Paul Robertson, not only is the SVA chair, he gets to support wonderful things like this. So Paul, we don't take that and the support of your family for granted. And we're delighted to have with us Bob Ryan from Queensland, who's been a fantastic SVA supporter and gets what we're trying to do around the dialogue and the collaborative. So we're really, really grateful for that. We have some people who are a very important part of the firmament at SVA. The chair of our SVA Leadership Council, Robin Crawford, who in his spare hours chairs also Good Start. Delighted to have with us tonight a number of directors at SVA, Richard Spencer. We also have Alison Deans and Lisa O'Brien, so fantastic that you're with us. And I really did want to thank, there are many people individually who've supported our work and long-term partners who I don't want to take for granted, who've been a really key part of a lot of the strategic work. The Macquarie Group Foundation, long-term partner of funded SVA Consulting, who've been really incredibly important in the work we've done on the education side. We also have the Trust company who've been a supporter of our education work. And I also wanted to thank for being with us David Vo, who chairs the SVA Future Trust. So, I'd now like to introduce